I'm not hurting someone else.
Well, exactly. I'm just speaking to those out there going, listen to him saying he smokes marijuana. It's evil. It's horrible. It's bad. The only reason it could be bad is because they've made it illegal. It's now under that culture of other illegal drugs. And so when you're out buying it, you don't know if it's good. You don't know if it's been sprayed. You don't know if it's tainted. You don't know if paraquat's been sprayed on it. And then the dealer may say, I got something else for you that is really bad. And see, that's why we've got to decriminalize it so that it isn't in that whole culture.
Well, it certainly needs to be switched out of the culture it's in right now, because Americans are not going to stop growing it. They're not going to stop smoking it, no matter how many of us you put in jail. And if there's one pot smoker in jail, we're all in jail.
And then the states pass laws decriminalizing, and the feds say no and swoop in and federal.
Well, that's what bothers me. That's what bothers me. People said, well, you're supposed to change the laws through, well, I ran for Congress. I tried that. And here's the problem. They say change the laws the right way. Don't release films. Don't sting cops. Well, every time the American people bring it on the ballot, for instance, they just did this in Michigan for medical marijuana. The cops, the chief of police, are the ones that come out and say, no, we can't do this, and start the marijuana madness thing again. So the government and the police tell us go through the proper channels to change the law, and then when we try, they come against it. So it makes absolutely no sense. It's not fair.
Well, we've got to start with ending prohibition on marijuana, and then taxing it and controlling it like anything else.
I don't even like them taxing it for this reason, Alex.
But if I can get them to at least do that.
Oh, I would take that. But that's still saying, we'll pay you money, American government, if you quit putting us in jail for something we shouldn't be in jail for anyway. They should leave that plant alone. And if they do, it will do more good for America than all the tax money it could ever bring. But if they want to legalize it and tax it, we'll take that.
Well, it's an automatic tax. It's all. I mean, you said $90 billion a year. I mean, you're
billion.
Right. Yeah, billion. It's already a tax cut if we stop spending that $90 billion a year.
Yeah, good point.
So I mean, right there, that's $90 billion that we won't be spending. Now, before we run out of time here, I know we've got 30 minutes of overdrive, but for the full audience, with about 18 minutes left. Let's get into, just in rapid fire, some of the worst cases of corruption and setups you've seen, and then get your latest sting.
The worst cases of corruption would be those where we put people in jail when the informant planted the drug, and or we lied on the search warrant, and or we caused our dog to false alert when they refused consent so we could search their car, or taking an 8-ball of cocaine out of my pocket as an officer and sticking it in another man's pocket that's handcuffed and telling him if he doesn't call me within 24 hours to set somebody else up on a drug bust, that 8-ball of cocaine was going to be his. Then I would take the 8-ball of cocaine out of his pocket and put it back in mine, and within 24 hours he would call me because he was so scared that I would plant that 8-ball on him. It's terrorizing Americans.
Well, before we get into that sting, just briefly, my story growing up. By the time I was 12, I had older friends. I was playing baseball with things in the neighborhood in Dallas, middle-class area, Rockwall, actually, there on the lake. And I'd go over, and their older brothers would be smoking pot, and I'd smoke it and wouldn't like the way it made me feel. So I was never really into drugs, but I saw it going on, and this was an affluent area. And so by the time I was about 14, I had friends who were now 18 who I knew were suddenly driving Corvettes and having a great time. They were being left alone by the police. I'd get pulled over with them in the passenger seat, and they go, "Oh, you can go," because they knew them. And I would be at a party, and I'd see a plainclothes guy show up, and I knew these guys for so many years. They trusted me. Suddenly, I was in the middle of this, seeing ecstasy, cocaine, LSD, marijuana, with police delivering this to teenage and then 20-year-old dealers who were running around selling this to all the yuppies and housewives in town. And again, by the time I was 14, I had a moped. I even had this one guy, this one friend's older brother, say, "Hey, just make marijuana deliveries for us right around the neighborhood." And I said, no. Then by the time I'm 16, I'm in Rockwall High School, and the very cops who are connected to drug dealing are in and around the school, being called into the school when there's drug busts and things. And I started shooting my mouth off, going, "You guys are dealing the drugs. You shouldn't be putting people in jail." And then my dad starts getting calls that we're going to hang your son in a jail cell. They did, pulled me over, threatened me in the car, said, we're going to kill you if you don't shut up. And we had to move from Dallas to Austin. My dad said, that's it. And, we're out of here. Because suddenly cops were by my house driving around. They were pulling me over. They called me into the principal's office and said, we know you've stolen all the stereo equipment. And I was honest with the cop. I said, you're really evil. I said, I've stolen beer out of the backs of golf carts when I was like 13. A few times there'd be these golf carts sitting out, parked at the pool by the golf course, and we go, 6-pack. I go, that's all I've ever stolen. And once when I was 3, I walked out with a candy bar. My mom made me take it back. I said, I haven't stolen any stereo equipment. I'm not a criminal. And he said, I know that. We're going to put you in jail, and big black men are going to rape you if you don't go set people up for us. So their way of trying to make me shut up as all this was happening was to try to call me in and say, big black men are going to rape me if I didn't go set people up for stealing things. Then they called me in right before we moved and said, we know you're involved in all these other criminal activities. We know you're involved in arson. And I was going, whoa. And then they found out we were moving. And it was the last day of school. And the cop walks out to my truck, the head cop, and he says, Alex, I hear you're moving to Austin. Doesn't matter. You're a criminal. We're still going to get you, and black men are still going to rape you and give you AIDS.
Jeez. And I've got some advice for any listeners, and this is the advice we give daily. If you're in a jurisdiction and the cops are picking on you like they were Alex and many others, you need to leave that jurisdiction. You need to physically move away from that address. Candy and I fled East Texas to come to Austin because just 8 months ago, one of them in a park, you were talking about how cops shoot people. Now they've got this neat thing they do, and they did it to Candy and I, and we're suing the department for it. We were walking in a park, and we got into a confrontation, and the cop, a very calm confrontation, I might add, and the cop grabbed his pistol and started screaming, "You're not going to shoot me. You're not going to shoot me."
I thought he was going to shoot him.
Yeah, I instantly registered that as this guy's setting things up where when he shoots me, it's on video and camera that he was in fear of his life, which is what the cops need before they pull the gun. They have to explain they're in fear of their life.
In the threat continuum.
Yes. So he's already screaming, "You're not going to shoot me. You're not going to shoot me." That way, if he had to shoot me on the video, it's like, man, I was scared. I thought he was going to shoot me because it was night and I had a cell phone,
That's what they're saying now about the guy they just killed out in California.
Yeah, last week.
They're saying, we thought he was going to do something. They put out a false story. It turns out he was on it.
So we moved to Austin. It's safer here than other areas of Texas.
No, I know the police chief. He's actually going to be in here in 2 weeks in studio.
Well, he's got a problem with taking blood from people on these DWIs. I agree.
I brought that up to him.
Yeah, he's got to quit that.
But he at least is kicking cops off, which other departments won't, who are shooting people in the back. And
that's right.
Saying they should be charged.
Yeah, well, that's his reasonable service. That's not like that chief's doing a favor. And I don't have
I agree.
But that's his reasonable service. He's supposed to kick cops off that shoot people. Mm-hmm. But holding people down like they've been doing through the holidays here in Austin with a search warrant to pull their blood from them is craziness.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean,
and I saw the chief on... Oh, I know. I didn't think that.
No.
But I do take issue with that. I saw him on the news the other day proudly exclaiming and proclaiming, you know what? I hate that people drink and drive, but my freedoms are more valuable than the dangers even they bring.
Absolutely. And those that claim, give us your liberty for security, always want to set up tyranny. And just finishing the story about Rockwall briefly, right before we moved, the sheriff, and I wasn't having trouble with them, it was the APD, or it was the Rockwall PD, it was the city, got caught by the feds flying cocaine and marijuana into the Rockwall Municipal Airport. So it turned out it was a huge drug dealing operation to all those wealthy people in that bedroom community. And just because I shot my mouth off a few times, that concerned them. Mm. And they were getting ready to kill me. Because then my dad had one city lawyers who he'd known, back from college days, call him up to get your family out of here now. That's all I'm going to tell you. Get out of here now, or your son's going to be hung in a cell. We'd already had that phone call. And then I had him pull me over, say, you're drinking while driving, wasn't drinking, put me in the car, took me to the Rockwall jail cell when I was 16, and said that they would kill me if I didn't shut up. Now, that's America.
Fortunately, you got away. Yolanda Madden and hundreds of thousands of others in this country didn't get away. And we're not going to stop until we see some prison doors come loose.
That's right.
Well, this is just an unbelievable interview. Tell us about the latest thing.
We were planning to go to Washington State, where I have proof and evidence that the cops there are raiding marijuana grow rooms using illegal FLIR cameras, the heat imaging cameras.
Yeah.
So we set we were going to do that in Washington State. We had a group targeted. I got a phone call from a citizen in Odessa that told me my ex-partners had planted drugs on his daughter and wanted to know if I could help. So